This episode contains discussion of disturbing themes, including violence, manipulation, and sensitive subject matter. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Some cases don't just shock the world, they leave permanent marks on it. Today, we're diving into one of the most haunted, disturbing, and widely and talked about cases in recent history, the story of Lori Vallow.
What makes this case so chilling isn't just what happened, it's why. Twisted beliefs, manipulation, and a mindset that turned deadly. It's kind of story that feels almost impossible to understand.
We'll be breaking down the timeline, the people involved, and the warning signs that, looking back, feel impossible to ignore because beneath it all, it is a case filled with questions and very few satisfying answers.
So prepare yourselves. This isn't an easy one to hear, but it's a story that needs to be told. And trust us, it only gets darker from here.
Oh, you think you got away? Static in the hallway air, fingerprints on every prayer. You locked the door, you checked it twice. Still you feel that icy bite. Mirror fog, what them two shadows stretching over you. You said my name, you fed the dark. Every word a little Harlots of Spooktalk, here we are. In your room and in your car, swearing once on what we're told. Some are true and some are wrong. Of Spooktalk, here we are. Under skin and in your scars, swearing once on what we're told. Some are true and some are wrong. Lights flick off, the volume jumps. Radio coughs and broken lumps. Voices crawling through the hiss, calling out the names you miss. You choke it off, it's just a game, but something answers when you say my name. Cold seatbelt across your chest. I ride along an uninvited guest. Harlots of Spooktalk, here we are. In your room and in your car, swearing once on what we're told. Some are true and some are wrong. Harlots of Spooktalk, here we are. Whisper dare in churchyard mode, swearing once on what we're told. Some are true and some are wrong.
So let's start with Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell was born on August 11th, 1968, which is a Leo. I'm not calling anybody out. But this was in Provo, Utah, to a Mormon family and grew up in the neighboring city of Springfield. He was accepted and enrolled at Brigham Young University, which is BYU, after high school. 1 year into college, he applied to be in the missionary, for which he spent 2 years in New Jersey. Then he resumed his studies and graduated from BYU with a BA in journalism. Chad married Tamara, or Tammy Douglas, on March 9th, 1990. They had 5 children. Chad worked for a time as a copy editor for the Ogden Standard Examiner. At various times during and after his studies, he supported himself by working as a grave digger. then as a cemetery sexton for Springfield. Chad's first religion themed novel was Errand for Emma was published in 1999 for the Springfield-based publisher Cedar Fort Inc. He eventually left his employer at the cemetery to focus on his writing. So in 2001, he published One Foot in the Grave, a nonfiction book that had chronicled his experience working in the cemeteries. And then in 2004, Chad and his wife founded Spring Creek Book Company, which he used to self publish his beliefs regarding the end times, as well as other religion themed books aimed at the Mormon audience. But by the end of the 2000s, the Daybells were facing financial problems. So at that time, Chad's publishing business provided income, approximately $2,000. Both spouses had to work part-time jobs to supplement that income. So with Chad being employed again as a cemetery sexton, eventually Chad salvaged his company and found an audience among people concerned by the second coming of Jesus. So, becoming a popular author and speaker in some radical Mormon circles, he published plenty of books. Okay, we can go on and on about.
So, can I ask a question? I'm raising my hand. Oh wow.
Yes,
Um, can you explain the Mormon thing?
like what a Mormon is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to say the wrong thing because I have friends that are really deep in the Mormon church. So, Mormons are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a global Christian restoration, and that is headquartered in St. City. You can definitely look it up online. They have the temples. If you ever watched that show, um, what's the guy with all the wives?
I was just
There's
curious.
also Mormon Wives, if you want to watch that. But yeah.
Oh, wife swappers? No, not wife swap. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that
Mormons
one.
Mormons
Yeah.
believe that God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost are three separate things. They believe God the Father has a body of the flesh and bone. I don't know if that helps, but you can definitely look into it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
was just curious. That was all.
yeah. So okay, so Lori Vallow Daybell. This is the one that we were like very intrigued with. Always gonna know like what's his backstory too. So Lori Ryan Daybell, also referred to as Lori Vallow Daybell, was born on June 26, 1973. So June 26th. No, shut your mouth. She's a Cancer. She's a June Cancer, though. There's a difference. Calm down, Tiff. There's a difference. Okay. She also grew up in a Mormon family. Her parents were tax protesters who adhered to sovereign citizen ideology and were in conflict with the IRS for about 2 decades. In 1992, at the age of 19, Lori married her high school boyfriend, but the marriage ended in divorce shortly afterwards. So in October 1995, Lori married again and had a son named Colby in 1996 before divorcing in 98. She worked for some time as a hairdresser in 2004. She was a contestant in both the Miss Texas beauty pageant and on the game show Wheel of Fortune. In
She
2001,
wasn't from Texas. Why is she in a Texas beauty pageant? Okay, I just had to say it. Okay, bye.
yeah, that lady looks so familiar. That's what creeps me out. So in 2001, Lori married Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr., who gave his name to Colby. The couple's daughter Tylee was born in 2002. Lori and Ryan divorced in 2005, subsequently engaging in a bitter custody battle during which she accused him of sexually assaulting both children. Ryan eventually lost equal custody. Lori's brother Alex Cox attacked Ryan in 2007, claimed he had been abusive to Lori and the children. Cox served 90 days in jail for the incident. In 2020, Colby claimed during an interview that a child he had been sexually abused by Ryan. So in 2018, Ryan was found unalived in his apartment from what was determined cardiovascular,
Something.
arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Did I do good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
After
good
Lori,
enough.
so after Lori's arrest in 2020, and after a recording surfaced in which she mentioned wanting to unalive Ryan like Neffy killed. Police reviewed Ryan's death. Nothing was found to suspect foul play. But in February 2006, Lori married Leland Charles Anthony Vallow, who commonly went to the name Charles. In 2013, the couple adopted Charles' grandnephew, and the boy's parents were, because they were unable to care for him. Um, I mean, this baby was taken care of by his grandparents and adopted by Charles, and he was eventually adopted or diagnosed with autism. But let's move on.
Yeah, so around 2015, Lori became interested in Chad Daybell's Standing in Holy Places series of books. Over the next few years, she became increasingly invested in radical religious beliefs, reading books about near death experiences, and listening to podcasts by excommunicated Mormons. Does that mean they ain't Mormons anymore?
They ain't Mormons no
Shut
more,
up.
baby girl. Sorry, Carly.
So in October 2018, together with Melanie Gibb and I don't want to butcher this name, someone else whom she had recently befriended, Lori attended a Preparing a People event where she met Chad for the first time. So both the girls she went with said that Lori had behaved in a very flirtatious manner with Chad at the conference. Chad claimed to Lori that they had been married in multiple previous lifetimes. They started communicating.
Oh
So
yeah.
they started communicating privately afterward. After their initial meeting, Lori's husband, wait, so she already married, went out on a business trip, giving her the opportunity to hold a small overnight gathering at her home. Chad and Gibb were among the attendees, with Chad captivating Lori and the group by sharing his Mormon influenced but unique beliefs. Lori developed a strong attachment to Chad and his teachings. The two eventually became lovers and friends. Okay. On December 5th, 2018, Chad and Lori appeared together on the Preparing a People podcast episode, Time to Warrior Up. The two were featured in several other episodes. A religious group formed around Chad and his teachings. He and Lori told their followers that they belonged to the Church of the Firstborn, of which Chad was the leader. The group included Lori's niece, Melanie, Gibb, Cox, and how do you say that? Pastins?
I don't even know where you're at. I'm sorry. Just keep
Okay.
going, girl. Keep
Anyways,
going.
that's fine. Don't come for me. I butchered it probably, but don't come for me. Who eventually became Cox's girlfriend and then wife. So one of her friends married her brother. Gibb and Lori co-hosted a podcast called Feel the Fire. Ooh.
Yes. Lori and Chad's beliefs started reincarnation, a concept which is not accepted by the LDS Church, played a key part in Chad's religious views. He claimed to have lived 31 previous lives on different planets, and Lori had lived 21 separate lives, 5 of which coincided with his own personal experiences on Earth. Lori eventually told Gibb that she and Chad were sealed due to their previous marriages and past lives, despite their respective spouses still being alive. When Gibbs suggested that Chad and Lori should divorce their spouses, Lori told her they were not allowed to because of information they were receiving from the other side of the veil. Chad also claimed to be reincarnation of James Celeste, that Lori had been James's wife under the name Elena, and that other past lives, Lori had been Mary French, the great-grandmother of Joseph Smith, as well as the wife of the prophet. According to Chad, past lives were multiple probations on earth. This belief is shared by some Mormon groups, which consider that such probations are necessary for one to reach higher elevation, basically. Chad categorizes people as light or dark based on their signing them with Jesus Christ or Satan. He and Lori employed a unique scoring system for good and evil, assigning every person a rating from light to dark. According to the belief system, dark people were possessed by evil spirits. The group often joined in castings ceremonies where they would try to cast away evil spirits through prayer and scripture readings. They claim that in some cases, possessed people could become zombies, and that the only
Ooh.
way to banish a zombie was to kill the person. What?
Like through the head?
Yeah, probably double tap.
Probably.
Sorry.
Okay.
7 women within the group, including Lori, called themselves the Seven Gatherers and would do castings together, sometimes via Zoom. Who knew Zoom would be such a great thing for casting demons out?
Ooh, how
Sorry.
fun.
Chad and Lori also scored people on the vibration scale and deemed those having enough vibrations to possess special powers or to be translated. Their beliefs also included teleportation and dark and light portals. Chad claimed that he could create such a supernatural portal, which he used to interact spiritually with Lori
Oh.
and travel to other realms. Chad predicted that the world would come to an end July 22nd, 2020. He told his followers that he was guided by angels and he could see hidden truths, while Lori claimed to have direct communication with God and Jesus. Lori came to believe that she was a goddess with visionary powers and that she and Chad were destined to lead 144,000 people who would survive when the world ended.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Who does this
Lori,
remind you of?
I was going to say that one LDS.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
We went over that before. And who does it remind me of? The chick that turned gray. Remember her?
Oh, her too. Yeah, that's true. It
Same belief
that
system.
gets me where they said that they could be
Yeah.
possessed on Zoom. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like that's exactly. I think there's a
Get
reason
out
why.
of here.
Get out of here.
It does get worse. It gets worse.
Oh
Lori
gosh.
believed that being she couldn't be held responsible for her actions on this earth. That
What
blew
the
me away.
fuck?
That is exactly like that lady that turned
Nah.
freaking blue.
Yeah, I know. Lindsay Park, executive director of Sunstone Education Foundation, commented that these beliefs could be categorized as Mormon fundamentalism through without the polygamy aspects. We got to remember there is different levels to Mormonism, just like any
True.
other religion.
And the state, it depends on the state.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it depends on which sect they're in.
Yeah.
The Mormon fanfic, as they took the fundamental tenets of the LDS Church, which we all knew what LDS Church is.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the news a lot.
Hell yeah. We went over it.
Yeah.
Yep. About the case, said that Chad and Lori have been active at the fringes, the far right fringes of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and were able to meet due to the ecosystem of extreme, I can't say that,
Extreme.
extremism
Yeah, extremism.
that exists in those circles.
So
That's
let's
just
talk about.
crazy.
It
Mm-hmm.
is.
Let's talk about the murder. Charles Vallow
Bum
by.
bum bum. Okay. I'm done. Okay.
I
I'm
think
muted.
all of our energy is just coming down. We're like, ah, you know. So by February 2019, Lori reportedly informed Charles that she no longer cared about him or JJ. And
That's
then she just,
rude.
yeah, and then she just vanishes for 58 days. The same month, coincidentally, that Charles filed for divorce. Who
Oh,
wink wink.
bum.
And then she
Mm-hmm.
vanished for 58 days, which was, oh, wait, I just said that. Oh, man, I ruined the whole thing.
It's okay.
So, citing threats to his life as well as the theft of his truck and $35,000 from their joint bank accounts. You know what I could do with $35,000? Girl, bye. Anyways, according to Charles filing, Lori had told him that he was possessed by a dark spirit called Ned Schneider. Moment of silence. I don't know what to say to that. I'm we listen and we don't judge. I don't
Well,
what?
yeah, we listen and we don't
Don't
judge.
judge. But
Okay.
come on, a dark spirit named Ned Schneider. Okay.
That's a cool name.
Winky dink. I don't know. That's weird. Anyways, that so he was possessed by this dark spirit called Ned Schneider, that she was a god assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 of the Christ seconds coming, which would happen, like she said, July 2020, and that she would murder him if he got in the way of her mission. Wow. So Charles sought a protective order against Lori at the advice of attorney. Good on you. He withdrew his petition 1 month later. Not good on you, saying he wanted to try and make the marriage work. Nevertheless, Charles had become so worried by Lori's actions in February 2019, he changed his 1 million life insurance policy so the beneficiary would be his sister Kay rather than his wife. Lori was unaware of this until after Charles' death. Busted,
Ooh.
bitch. Anyway, Arizona police detectives later retrieved text messages between Chad, Lori, and her brother Alex, which referred to Charles as Ned or Hiplos or the name of the spirit said to possess him. Lori told members of the religious church that her husband had become a zombie. Several followers repeatedly joined to pray for Charles' demise. So, having discovered his wife's affair with Chad Daybell, Charles Vallow confronted Lori about it. 11 days before his death, he sent an email to Tammy Daybell to inform her that her spouses were cheating. Evidence later showed that Tammy had been opened and deleted the message and blocked Charles' email address. So on July 1st, 2019, Charles
Wow.
informed Lori that he had planned to meet Tammy in person. And at that point, Lori and Chad were communicating constantly with burner phones. Yes, I'm going to tell you like as best I can, like a valley girl, so you could stay.
Yes, girl.
Okay. Oh my god.
Let's
I
get
can't even see
it.
Carly's face right now. She's probably like, oh my god. Just like these witches.
Ooh.
So, on July 11th, 2019, Charles went to pick up JJ at Lori's home in Chandler, Arizona early in the morning. Alex Cox was present and the altercation occurred, and Cox shot and killed Charles. So Tylee told police that she had grabbed a baseball bat after she heard from her room Charles, Lori, and Cox arguing, and Charles had taken the bat away from her, and that she had run away from the house with JJ before the shooting. Now, Cox claims self-defense, allegedly that he had retrieved his gun after Charles struck him in the head with the bat. Lori did not call 911. It was later determined that Alex Cox had it about 45 minutes after Charles was killed. What the fuck? So, moments after the shooting, Lori took JJ to school and stopped on her way to Burger King and then Walgreens to buy flip flops. That's a new one.
Flippy flops.
Yeah. No charges were pressed. A police detective later testified that Lori's behavior that day had been oddly nonchalant and that she seemed unaffected by the situation. Zulema Paston said that Cox had told her he did not feel bad because he had killed a zombie. Investigations later showed that 2 days before the shooting, Lori had sent her brother a text message which told him to be like Neffy. Police interpreted that message as a command to kill a wicked man. Were they wrong?
Nope.
So, Lori texted Charles' son from a previous message that her father had passed away and then left them without any further information for 3 days. Charles' sons had found their own mortuary where their father's body was. They were left to organize a memorial service, which Lori did not attend. So she was like, peace out, and then left it all to the family, it sounds like. So before Charles's death, his attorney
Peace
said,
out, Girl Scout.
yeah. So before Charles' death, his attorney stated that he had been primary concern for JJ's safety and well-being, as the boy needed consistent routine due to his special needs. So Charles was also concerned for Tylee, and he was unable to include her filings as she was neither biological daughter nor he had filed to legally adopt her. Days after Charles was killed, Chad sent Lori a love story in the form of serious text messages. The stories, which investigators called a romance novel, told the meeting of James and Elena. The names Chad substituted for Lori and himself and gave him detailed description of their sexual relationship.
That's crazy. So, well, we already started talking about them kids, so let's get into the disappearances of Tylee and JJ. By the end of August, Lori relocated to Idaho with her children. Rexburg, Idaho, with her children. Alex also moved there, so her brother went with her. Just before moving to Idaho, Lori sold JJ's service dog. Yeah. While Lori and her children resided in Rexburg, neighbors noticed JJ's erratic behavior as Lori often left him outside without adult supervision. Wow. For long periods of time, too. Oh, man. When confronted about this, Lori did not mention that JJ was autistic, but told neighbors that he was her niece's drug baby. Okay, yo, nah. This she is a B word. Tylee was last seen on September 8th, 2019 at Yellowstone National Park with her brother JJ, her mother Lori, and her uncle Alex. She was never enrolled at any school in Idaho, even though her mother had claimed she was attending BYU, Idaho. JJ last attended Rexburg's Kennedy Elementary School on September 20th. On September 22nd, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend David were staying at Lori's home around 10:30 p.m. David said saw Alex take JJ, who was sleeping, upstairs to his bedroom. This was JJ's last confirmed sighting. On the next morning, JJ was absent. Lori told Gibb and Warwick that JJ had been misbehaving, so his uncle Alex had picked him up. On September 23rd, JJ had an unexcused absence from school. The next day, Lori informed Rexburg Elementary School that she would now be homeschooling JJ. In the months that followed her children's disappearances, Lori kept collecting the Social Security survivor benefits that each received after the death of their respective father. What a bitch. In October 2019, two Venmo payments were made from Tylee's account to her half older half brother Colby Ryan with love expressing messages attached. When Colby later expressed concern towards Tylee via text, he received responses from her cell phone indicating she was safe but too busy to talk. After repeated calls to Tylee went unanswered, Colby became more worried. Brandon and Melanie Gibb later said that Lori and Chad were convinced Tylee and JJ were quote unquote possessed and had become zombies. Um, how did we say? Pastins, I can't, yeah, testify that Chad had told his father or his followers that JJ would off soon. Oh, man. And then, to come back as Colby's son. The FBI uncovered text messages in which Lori and Chad discussed Tylee and JJ's possession and mentioned a perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children. A text exchange between Lori and Alex mentioned working on Z's, referring to zombies.
The next attempted murder of Brandon on October 2nd, 2019. Brandon, the estranged husband of Lori's niece, Melanie, was shot from a Jeep while driving home in Gilbert, Arizona. The bullet missed the head by inches. He, who had been close to Charles and Lori Vallow's family, recognized the Jeep as a vehicle used by Tylee Ryan. The Jeep drove away, but Brandon could give its license plate numbers to the police, who identified it as registered to Charles Vallow. Melanie had become very involved with her aunt's religious activities during 2018 and insisted that she and her husband buy food stockpiles for the end of the world. During the summer 2019, she had demanded a divorce, which was not finalized when Brandon was. Brandon said he had been blindsided by the divorce request, which he blamed on Melanie's involvement in her aunt's cult. Brandon, who suspected Lori and her brother Alex Charles killed unaliving, hired a private investigator. After it became known that Tylee and JJ were missing, Brandon was convinced that Charles' unaliving, the children's disappearance, and the attempt on his life were all connected to Lori's religious group. He suspected the murder attempt against him was motivated by the life insurance policy. Prosecutors later, it goes into that Lori had hoped to access Brandon's money through her niece. On February 2020, Brandon filed a court document claiming that the attempt on his life was motivated by insurance money. The gunman was probably Lori's recent deceased brother, Alex, and that Melanie was likely aware of Tylee and JJ's whereabouts. Melanie denied any knowledge of what happened to the children, but tracking Cox's cell phone data, investigators later found that Cox had searched on the internet for directions to Brandon's address and had been present near Brandon's home during the hours before the. He had also searched how to load ammunition, ballistic calculators, and after the shooting, man shot in Gilbert. On the day of the Cox and Lori had communicated several times. Later on, Lori had also made internet searches about age occurrence in Gilbert, Arizona.
Girl.
I
So,
know.
oh my Lanta. So it just feels like it's getting worse. So the murder, it's getting worse. So the murder of Tammy Daybell on February 2019, Chad told his neighbors, Todd and Alice Gilbert, that he had a vision that Tammy would die before her 50th birthday. On October 9, 2019, Tammy reported being shot in her driveway by a masked man with what she thought was a paintball gun. The man pulled the trigger several times, but the gun apparently was unloaded. Police believed this to be a prank, but could not identify the man. But then, 10 days later, Tammy was found unalived in her home, apparently from natural causes. That's not, no. Anyways, Chad claimed that he had retired the previous night with a terrible cough and died in her sleep. She said that Tammy had been experiencing low blood pressure, seizures, and negative reactions to homeopathy medicines, though nothing in her medical records supported this. Tammy's funeral was organized in Utah 3 days later after her death. Alice Gilbert later says she had been surprised by the funeral. The funeral had came so soon and felt like it had been planned. The Gilberts also testified that, unlike his children, Chad did not seem devastated and had acted in a businesslike manner. Chad's sister-in-law, Heather Daybell, said that Chad's behavior at Tammy's funeral did not ring true and that he just didn't seem super upset. Jason Williams said that he had felt Chad's not crying but trying to cry during the service. Chad mentioned in his talk that Tammy suffered from depression, commented that she was not easy to live with, and called her lazy. Bitch, what? Okay, that was rude. But
Nah,
seriously.
not at all.
But seriously. So, according to police records, Chad Daybell received life insurance payouts after Tammy's death, totaling $430,000, equivalent to about $541,000 in 2025. Tammy's body was not autopsied initially due to Chad's refusal and the coroner's acceptance of the decision. However, after Tammy's body was exhumed in autopsy, it was determined that he had
Asphyxiated.
yeah, by someone else. The autopsy results completed by February 21 were not publicly revealed until April 23 during Lori's trial. Investigators later uncovered text messages between Chad and Lori claiming that Tammy was in a limbo and possessed by a spirit named Viola. At some point, Chad and Lori told their followers that Tammy had become a zombie, which we did talk about that a little bit earlier. Alex's phone was located near the Daybell's residence on October 9th, hours before Tammy was shot at, and it pinged again in the same area 10 days later on the night Tammy passed away. So, police found at Cox's home an AR-15 that resembled the description Tammy had made of the supposed paintball gun. Cox had made several internet searches about the use of an AR-15 and how a Grendel round would impact a Dodge Dakota, which was the car the Daybells owned. Prosecutors later said the paintball gun spotted by Tammy on October 9th was a real gun, and it just may have jammed or it misfired, and that the shooter was probably Alex. So, Zelamia Pastinis testifies that she had been with Lori and her niece Melanie to do a casting on the night Tammy was attacked in her driveway, and at some point through the night, Lori talked with someone on the phone and became very angry, calling the other person idiot, moron, stupid. After hanging out, she commented, "Idiot can't do anything by himself."
Okay, so we're gonna get down to Lori's arrest. So, she had a few more. She was very sick in the head, but on February 20th, 2020, Lori was arrested in Hawaii by the police. On March 5th, she was extradited back to Idaho. See, I was still like, what is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Lori faced charges in Madison County, Idaho, including 2 felony counts of she deserted and non-support of dependent children. Oh, deserted her kids. Okay. As well as 3 misdemeanors. Her bail was initially set at $5 million, but was later lowered to $1 million after her extradition to Idaho. In May, Lori appeared in court in Rexburg to request a further reduction of her bail. which was denied. Thank God. Multiple local bond companies were reportedly unwilling to work with her. Yeah, good job, guys. I applaud y'all. He tried to convince. Oh, wait, where was I? Oh, yeah. So after Lori's arrest, Chad returned to Idaho. He tried to convince the Gilberts to put their home up for bond to get Lori out of prison, claiming that Jesus had given him this idea. Oh, when Alice Gilbert asked him about the children and confronted him on what he had said about Lori's daughter being ex-nayed, Chad answered that it was a custody issue. He added at some point that Tylee didn't like people and did not like him, using the past tense. I don't like people either, so I got you, girl.
The discovery of the children's remains and Chad's arrest. On June 9th, police found human remains buried in unmarked graves in the backyard of Chad's home during a search of the premises. Tylee's remains were located in an area the Daybell family called the Pet Cemetery, as it had been used to bury the cats and dogs. JJ's remains were located in a separate area of the property near a pond. As the property was being searched, Chad's phoned Lori in jail to warn her about the situation. After police found and began to unearth the bodies, he tried to drive off the scene, but was chased down and apprehended. He was arrested for obstruction of concealment of evidence. The next day, his bail was set at $1 million. Authorities had decided to search the Daybell's property after tracking Alex Cox's cell phone. On September 9th, 2019, the day after Tylee's last verbal sighting, Cox's phone had pinged in the middle of the night at Lori's home, then in the morning at the Daybell's home. In the morning of September 23rd, the day after JJ was last seen, Cox's phone had again pinged at the Daybell's property. The FBI had intercepted a September 9th text conversation between Chad and his wife. Chad told Tammy he had shot a large raccoon after finding it in the backyard that morning and buried it in their pet cemetery. Investigators found that suspicious, as raccoons are normally nocturnal animals. On June 10th, yeah, he went with the wrong. On June 10th, the Woodcock and the Ryan families confirmed that human remains found on Chad's property were those of Tylee and JJ. This finding was officially confirmed by the Rexburg police 3 days later. Tylee's body was burned, her hands had been cut off, and her bones were fractured in several places, from which forensic examiners someone had attempted to dismember her. I'm sorry, guys. Explicit right now. JJ's body was wrapped in plastic, unlike Tylee. He had been buried with great care under rocks and wooden planks. It was determined that JJ had been asphyxiated. Nope. Due to the state of her remains, Tylee's cause of death could not be determined and was ruled homicide by unspecific means. Tylee's DNA was found on a pickaxe and a shovel seized at the Chad's home. Alex Cox's fingerprints and Lori's hair was found on the plastic and duct tape on JJ's remains. In August, Chad Daybell was excommunicated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on the basis of his religious teachings, which the media has later described as a doomsday cult.
Hell yeah. F them both, because that, Like, no, we're going to bring back hanging. I don't care what you say. For these two, we need to hang them. There ain't no electrical chair. There ain't no getting stuck with no drugs that kill you on the death penalty. They're going to get hung from a tree. And then we can beat them like a pinata.
I think that's fair. I mean, I definitely don't disagree with you. I don't even know if we do the electric chair anymore.
No, it's
no.
No, they don't do it anymore. They just
do lethal injection and gas chamber, and we still have the gas chamber.
I think in some states.
I still say wood chipper.
Yeah, that too. I mean,
He's
we
never
can
gonna
beat
let the
them.
wood chipper go.
You know what? We'll beat them like a pinata, and then we'll put them in the wood chipper.
Bring social justice back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mentality.
exactly. So the charges were on July 2nd, 2020. Prosecutors dropped 2 charges against Lori. Sorry, bad news. Related to desertion and non support of dependent children, and instead charged her with an obstruction or concealment of evidence regarding her child's remains. So on July 17th, in light of the 2 felony counts against Lori having been dropped, her bond was lowered by Madison County Judge Michelle Mallard. The bond was set to $50,000 for each charge, totaling $150,000. It was further noted that Chad would still need to post $1 million in Fremont County to be released from jail, which is bullshit because I've seen people with
Mm-hmm.
drug charges for more than that. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
on May 25th, 2021, Chad and Lori were indicated of charges of
Indicted.
conspiracy. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. It's
It's
catching up
okay.
with me right now. So they were indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit first degree murder for the deaths of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, as well as grand theft by deception regarding the children. Lori was also charged with grand theft related to the children's Social Security survivor benefits. Chad faced an insurance fraud charge related to Tammy's life insurance policy. So back to June 2021, Lori was
Indicted.
indicted by a grand jury in Maricopa County, Arizona, on one count of conspiracy to commit first degree murder for the death of Charles Vallow. Police documents read: the evidence shows that Charles' death was a planned event and necessary to prevent Charles and others from confronting Lori about her extreme religious beliefs when she came to town. The death of Charles Vallow was also necessary in order for Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow to marry and fulfill their religious prophecies. So, again, back to July 21, prosecutors in Maricopa County decided not to prosecute Chad Daybell in connection with the death of Charles Valley, citing no reasonable likelihood of conviction. September 21, Chad Daybell's children issued a statement defending their father's innocence and claiming they had been fooled in the worst, most deadly way possible by Lori Vallow. And in 22, Lori was indicted by a grand jury on one count, first degree premeditated murder related to the attempt on Brandon Borok's life. And now,
I think it's Boudreaux. Brandon Boudreaux.
Boudreaux. Isn't that what I said? Or did I say Vortex?
I don't know.
I don't know anymore. But if you want to read more, please check out more. Or do we want to continue? Okay. So,
I mean, no, because
You're
like
all about to get pissed.
it gets it gets a lot worse.
Yes.
There's a lot more. Like everybody needs to read on it because so here comes Lori's trials in Arizona in 2025 because this just happened last year. In November 2023, Lori was extradited to Arizona to face her 2 conspiracy charges there. She pleaded not guilty to both. And in February 2024, her trial was scheduled to begin in August 1st of the same year, though the judge mentioned that it might be moved at a later date due to the amount of evidence to process. So it just goes on and on. And
But they did remove the death penalty from Lori, which pisses me off to no avail. You killed your children. I'm sorry.
I mean,
it's horrible because, like, I mean, why? Like, for one, okay, I know there are some women out there in prison. I don't know where I was going with that. You know how like Dahmer got his ass whooped in jail because yes,
Because he messed with children.
exactly. Women prisoners need to do the same thing.
They do normally. If they get their hands on her,
They do. They
they
they literally sit in there, watch the news, and they watch who's coming in, what happened, and as soon as she comes in, they're going to
Well, she'll probably be kept in protected custody.
not always.
Well, I mean, no, not always,
It
no,
depends on
but
what her religion is. It depends on a lot of things.
depends on the case, honest. I mean, that has a lot to do with
it's
it too. And
But they're
like,
not going to go protecting
safety.
her. She went in
but they're
unalived,
only
you
going
know.
for, this is what pisses me off. They're only going for life sentences without parole. They're not going for anything else. They're not going for the death penalty, even though they have it.
Now, yeah,
Well,
because some states don't have the death penalty,
But they do.
but yes. And I
She
in,
know
in Idaho.
if it happened here in Texas, that girl would have been on the death penalty.
Oh, for sure. She'd already been gone. But,
Yeah.
I mean, if she would have even made it to that, you know what I'm saying? Like, women in Texas are brutal.
We sure are. Mm-hmm.
They are
And
brutal.
you don't want to read up. There is a Netflix release, a 3 episode. It's called Sins of Our Mother. Also, Lifetime released one called The Lori Vallow Story.
Mm-hmm.
And ID Network released a 3 episode documentary in Doomsday, The Missing Children. So there is places you can watch these documentaries. I would suggest you do it. Just viewer discretion is advised, and please do not have children while you're watching this one. This one gets
Yeah,
deep.
it gets brutal and it's
Well,
I can't even like
Right.
you
to
know
read
because I can watch all these movies like Saw and everything and I'll be like, "Oh, cool. That's awesome." Not when it comes to children
yeah, children's too
Exactly.
far. Too far.
because yeah, like they're still innocent little souls unlike me when I was a child, but that's another story. But anyways,
Oh,
yeah,
you were
they
still a
are.
kid.
So I was. Ah.
But thank you for watching, and feel free to put your comments below. Tell us what you think. If you want to add something, don't be a dick about it. Anyways, I don't want to name
Hey,
any
all right.
names, but there's one person I
Mm-hmm.
see on there, and sometimes I just want to belly flop, like just mollywop him. Anyways,
All
what did you
right.
hear my sister in the background? Mollywop him. Say it again. Oh, okay. Anyways, have a great night. Stay safe. We love you, and I hope you enjoy this retrograde that we're having now.
And blessed be, and enjoy spring.
Bye.
Bye.